What's up guys, Dzeeff here. Today we have an early look at the upcoming 2-player starter set. I didn't quite know what to expect out of this product, but I found that it's one of the most unique ways to teach someone Yu-Gi-Oh that I've seen in a while. Starter decks have historically been an entry point for newer Yu-Gi-Oh players getting into the TCG. In this set though, you get two distinct starter decks, one that is based on Xyz monsters, one that is based on Synchro monsters, and there's a good mix of modern and old school cards in here to sort of acclimate players to Yu-Gi-Oh if they're getting back into it. But something new that they're trying for the first time ever with this is the idea of using a scripted duel to teach new players how the rules work. So when you take a look at these two starter decks, you obviously have their boss monsters on the front, but what is new this time around is this sort of language here. Stop, don't shuffle this deck, and some fine print too. But basically how these work is that the decks are pre-organized. So once you open them, you take the extra decks out. They both have 4 extra deck monsters, and then you place the decks face down, and it walks both players through learning how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's really cool to see how it organically introduces more complicated concepts over the course of several turns. I mean, it's pretty wild. You start out just normal summoning monsters and learning how attack and defense works, and then you work your way up to some longer combos that involve Zeus and stuff like that. These decks do have some of the older starter deck cards that you're used to seeing in these types of things, but they also have some crazy boss monsters like this, as well as some other modern cards like Eldritch, which we really have never seen in a starter deck before. I mean, Zeus must be the most powerful card ever put in one of these, right? By walking players through the different mechanics, you're able to do things that otherwise are a little bit difficult in a rulebook. For example, there is a moment in these scripted duels where you use a spent Call of the Haunted to summon Eldritch the Golden Lord. A newer player is learning a lot of interactions there. When they Xyz summon and the Call of the Haunted stays on the board, you're teaching them that that's not leaving the field, and then you give them a way to use that spent Call of the Haunted immediately, which is pretty cool. Of course, you guys want to see what's actually in these decks. Now try to remember here, yeah, it's teaching new players, you know, all the concepts, or returning players all the concepts, so there are going to be some vanilla monsters in here. You have to start somewhere, right? But here we go. We have a Divine Arsenal AA Zeus Sky Thunder, Castel the Sky Blaster Musketeer, number 20 Giga Brilliant, and Daigusto Emerald. I mean, these are definitely some high caliber extra deck monsters that I have not seen in starter decks before. You know, it's been a little while since we've had a starter deck in the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG. It's been a few years, and this is definitely a new updated way to do it. But let's take a look at the deck. We have Fierce Tiger, we got Magical Broker. I'm not going to go through all these cards in Night Beam necessarily and talk about them, but just to give you guys an idea of what's in here, lots of different cards. You know, you get to experience continuous spells, equip spells, traps, monsters, all sorts of stuff. And yeah, different cards to teach players how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! We got Book of Moon, MST, the Staples, Penguin Soldier. It's important to remember that these are not supposed to be structure decks. You're supposed to learn how to play the game, although Eldritch is really good, of course. You're supposed to learn how to play the game with these decks and then graduate to a structure deck. That idea is still pretty much the same at this point. We have Cyber Dragon, Call of the Haunted, Cost Down, Thousand Knives, White Ninja, and then some basic cards here at the end. You know, you do get some vanilla monsters. You got to learn how to tribute summon. I think the other one has an Ojama as well. This one gets Ojama Yellow, the other one gets Ojama Green. All right, moving on to the Synchro deck here. We have some Monadium cards. You'll see Visa Starfrost in the deck, of course. So here's what we have. Monadium Prime Heart, Rampaging Smash Tank Rhino Saber, Coral Dragon, and Stygian Sergeants. Over the years, I've tried to teach a lot of friends how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And those first few duels can be quite overwhelming, even if you're using starter or structure decks. The 2-player starter set tries to fix this by essentially creating an anime duel for you to act out with a friend. If you already know how to play, then you can just kind of guide them along as they flip through the book and play you. But where I think this is especially beneficial is when 2 brand new players try out the game for the first time, because then they can reference the scripted duel for interactions that might come up once they start playing for real with the decks. Because of course, yeah, these decks are meant to be played over and over again, not just in the scripted duel. As starter deck products go, this is definitely a huge step in the right direction in my opinion. And I also think it's cool that by giving you 2 different decks, you can kind of just keep these around whenever someone is like curious about Yu-Gi-Oh! You know, this is not something that you can only use one time, which I think is pretty nice. But anyway, that is all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This was the 2-player starter deck. It releases in about a week from now. Thank you guys for watching though. I'll catch you later. Goodbye.